to Soul Naked, your podcast all about embodied healing and sacred sensuality. I am Tanya Hirsch, and this podcast is intended to guide you home to your truth and feminine power. Each episode is designed to inspire you to create a pleasure-filled life that is in alignment with your soul. Let's drop the mask and dive right in.
Our infinity, our divinity.
Welcome back, my loves, to the Soul Naked podcast. I'm so grateful you're listening and just for your openness to this topic of sacred sexuality, because it is so dear to my heart, and I want every single woman on this planet to know that there's a different way of how we can feel in our bodies, how we can lead our lives. And today's topic is all about the sacred breast massage and how it can help you open your heart and to lead your life with more love and more radiance and more openness, instead of shutting your heart down like so many of us are living our lives. And I was one of those people. So in today's episode, I'm going to share with you why this practice is so powerful, how you can create your own breast massage at home, and also I share my personal story, how I discovered this practice and why it has changed the relationship to my body so much. I'm going to share a little vulnerable story that you might not think about me if you see me on Instagram. And also I will give you 2 opportunities how you can dive deeper into this practice if you just feel in your body that you desire to dive deeper into this and you would like to be guided. I have 2 offerings, actually 3, 2 in person and 1 online this weekend. So without further ado, let's dive into today's episode. And a little announcement that I already mentioned before, but now it's happening. I will transition into bi-weekly episode from May, which means this is my last weekly episode, and from now on we will have a new episode every 2 weeks, because my attention and energy needs a lot of focus for other things, my jewelry brand and I'm creating right now, and for my mastermind clients, my retreats, the traveling, my one-on-one clients. So I am going to switch into bi-weekly episodes, that you're not surprised next week won't be an episode. So our breasts as women are the positive pole of the female sexuality, which means we open up our body and our yoni through the heart, through the breast. That's why we need an emotional connection, or at least an emotional safety, for our yonis to be open, to be fully receptive, to be fully wet and open. And for the men, it's the opposite. They have their positive pole at their lingam, their penis, which is very, even you can see it goes outwards and we are inwards. Our negative pole is in our yoni, we are receptive, and we have our breasts outwards. And for the men, they have the positive pole at their genitals and the negative pole at their heart. And that's how we can circulate the energy. But this is a more specific topic that I'm not going to dive into today. I just want to give you this picture that our positive pole is outwards through the heart. And most of us, indeed 70% of women, don't feel comfortable with their breasts. 70% don't. That's an incredible high number. Like 30% love their breasts and 70% would like them to be different or have, just a difficult relationship with them. And I was one of those women for most of my life. And I'm going to share a little story around that, how my relationship has changed and how this practice of the breast massage has helped me to change, completely shift my relationship with my breasts. So if you see me on Instagram, you see my brand is called Soul Naked, which of course means to shed the layers and crack open the layers so your divine essence can shine through and you can show the world the real you. But it's also it shows a lot of skin. I do a lot of naked shootings with women. It's all sacred and all with the intention of remembering who we truly are and just feeling comfortable and empowered in our bodies. But there is just a lot of skin on my profile if you look on my website, on my Instagram, and you might think this just comes easy to her. She's just always felt amazing in her body and she can be in front of the camera naked without any effort. And we make these assumptions. But I'm going to tell you the truth today, because my relationship with my breasts has been quite challenging for me. I've always been confident in my body, which means I loved my curves. I was always a really thin child. I was super picky with food. I didn't eat much. I was super skinny. It was always cold in Germany. Even as a child, I was like, what is this winter? This is not for me. And then I got into puberty and I finally gained a little bit of weight and I got hips and curves and a bigger bum and my breasts started to grow, and I loved that I'm not cold anymore all the time. And I was so proud. I was even showing people, I was like, did you see that? Like I finally have hips and I have meat on my body. And I was really proud of that, because for me that always represented like a female body has to be curvy. I never loved the super skinny bodies. For me, it just didn't seem, I mean, it depends on the body, but that's just not what I was seeing as a role model, even though it's everywhere on the newspapers and magazines. And I always felt comfortable being curvy, even though my grandparents that I grew up with half of my childhood, when I was 1 year old, I started traveling with them in their caravan around the world. I spent every weekend, every holiday with them. And my grandfather always used to talk bad about my mother because she's, yeah, you could say a little bit more curvy. And he would always say things like, oh, be careful, don't eat that. You're going to be big as your mom, and always would talk bad about her and always tried to make me feel like being curvy is a bad thing and I have to try to be thin all the time. And when I got into puberty, they literally said things like, oh my God, last month you were so skinny and beautiful and now you gained so much weight. And I'm so proud of myself that I didn't choose the path of taking that seriously and being like, oh my God, I have to lose weight. I became more like a lioness. I was like, what the fuck? You are overweight yourself and you're talking to me like this? So I became this lioness, and every time a man would say something to a woman, even if it's strangers on the street, and I would hear the man saying like, do you really want these fries on top? Like, you've already eaten a lot. I would stand up and say, don't you dare to tell a woman that she's eating too much. She's so beautiful and it's actually healthy to have a curvy body. I was like this mama lioness standing up for women when it comes to a healthy female body, because it is actually beautiful and healthy to have a few, like to not be too skinny. Your organs, your womb, they need a little bit of flesh, because there's a balance between being overweight and unhealthy. But if it's curvy, I just truly believe that it's healthy and beautiful, and I always stood up for that. But when it came to my breasts, this was the only part of my body I've always rejected since they started growing. And when I dove deeper into this, I remember, you know, these magazines that you read when you were a child. In Germany, it was called Dr. Sommer. And there was always one naked woman and one naked man printed. And then this Dr. Sommer guy, or I think it was even a woman, answered these questions about sexuality. He was like, can you get pregnant if you're wearing a tampon? Things like that. And I remember in these magazines, this was the only place where I saw actual nipples, because I didn't go to saunas, and the only nipples I saw was my sisters and my mom's and my grandma. So I didn't have much to compare, but I started noticing in these magazines that these nipples were always tiny nipples. And when I started growing, when my breasts started growing, I just realized that my nipples were bigger. And then I remember I was sitting with my dad in front of the TV and we were watching this show, and these two guys, it was kind of a Big Brother show where there was men and women, and they, you know, kind of like reality dating TV show. And these two guys were talking about the women and who thinks who's hot and why. And one of these men said, oh yeah, I really like the blonde woman, but have you seen her nipples? I think it was even kind of a naked, I'm not sure. They saw each other naked. And have you seen her nipples? They're so big, it's disgusting. And in that moment, it's almost like I froze. I was like, oh my God, there's something massively wrong with my breasts because my nipples are bigger than the average. And that's ugly. And I imprinted it so deep in my system, this tiny little moment. And my dad was laughing and I was like, oh my God, he's confirming there's something wrong. I'm less lovable. I'm less worthy because my nipples are bigger. And it sounds funny, but it really, really impacted my life. And I always started to hide my breasts, even in the changing room with women. I turned around because I was ashamed if someone could see that my nipples are bigger, they will know that there's something wrong with me and that I'm less worthy and less lovable. And I only showed them when it's cold and, the nipples are hard and they look smaller. I was like, this is how I like them. This is how they're accepted. But if not, I cannot show them to anyone. Even to some partners, I was ashamed of my breasts. I would always either wear a bra or only sleep with them when it was dark, or only when I felt really comfortable, I could feel sensual in my body and show them. I was always in my head worrying about how they can look, and especially if you're on top and you lean forward, they can look a bit tubey, they're hanging a bit and they create this shape. And when I looked down, I was like, oh my God, this is so disgusting. And I really rejected my breasts. I loved them when they were closed. I loved them when it was cold. But just looking in the mirror, I just saw that my nipples are bigger than the average. And I thought, that's what my belief was. I'm less lovable and less beautiful and less worthy because of my nipples. And it continued until a few years ago, until I changed the relationship with my breasts. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this work, because sometimes we think, oh, we just look like this and we can't change how we feel about ourselves, but you can change how you feel in your body and about your sensuality, and you can drop into your body instead of being in your head all the time. And the feminine embodiment practices are just the most powerful tool to bring you into your body. And our breasts are the extension of our heart. You can even see that they are so close to our heart. And I'm not speaking about the physical heart, I'm speaking about your spiritual and emotional heart, which means if you have a lot of tension in your breasts, and it can even show in your body language, in your body posture, if your shoulders are more forward, if you're not opening your heart. That's why heart opening practices in yoga are also very powerful, to open this area and to release the armor and the protection layers that you carry around your heart. And you can see that a lot, especially in Germany, where a lot of people with their shoulders forward and their upper backs round. Your body speaks for your inner state of being, which means you can see if someone has a closed heart in their body posture. And we all experienced so much in our lives that made us shut down our hearts. And I really, really have so much compassion for that. I shared a lot about my process last year, where I went deep into my trauma and even the first months of life, and I felt the pain that I was carrying without even being aware of it, because my mind disassociated from those memories because they were too painful. And then when I felt them, I realized why I had to disassociate, because back then it was just too much for a little baby girl, for a little child to feel that if nobody's there to help you regulate your emotions. And most of our parents just didn't know how. That's why if something is too much to feel, we just shut down. And the problem is that our minds forget, but our bodies still carry those emotions. They still carry those memories, and they impact us on such a deep level in our everyday lives. They make us close down our hearts. And it is a safety mechanism. Your heart wants to keep you safe so you don't have to feel. It just doesn't want you to experience more pain because there's already so much inside of you. But the problem is, the more layers you carry around your heart, just in case you could get hurt again, just in case you could feel pain again, you also close yourself from your aliveness, from your pleasure, from your joy, from real connection, from giving people the chance to truly see the real you. And we are all longing this as human beings. We all long to be seen. We all long to be able to show our true self, but at the same time we are terrified of true intimacy. And this can show up in different patterns in your life. If you're attracted to emotional, unavailable men, this was me most of my life. I was always like, I'm so ready for intimacy, and I just don't understand why I'm attracting so many emotional, unavailable men. And I just couldn't see the truth that actually my heart was closed. My heart was really, really closed because I experienced so much pain, so much betrayal, so much heartache in my life that I created this wall around me, and I wasn't even aware of it because I thought I'm already open. But when I felt the pain and the memories and the emotions that were stuck in my body, I realized, oh, okay, now it makes sense. I understand why I shut down and why my body tried to protect me. But the moment you really dive into those layers and you crack open those layers emotionally, physically, and mentally, you crack open to life. Because the moment you die, you see your whole life passing in front of you, and you don't, I promise you, you don't want to have this moment of like, oh fuck, actually I never truly lived. I always took the safe way. I never faced my fears. I never went all in because I was too afraid to be hurt again. I was too afraid what could go wrong, instead of having the bravery and the courage and the willingness to open your heart fully to life and love. And this is something I so deeply desire for you, because I just know how it feels if you don't feel alive, if you have low energy, if you feel numb, if you feel like, oh my God, I'm living on autopilot. Who am I? Why am I here? What is this life? Like, I have a partner, but I'm not feeling seen. I feel like I'm laying naked next to him, and I feel like he's emotionally 10,000 miles away. I've experienced all of that, and I know how lonely it can feel inside. And I truly desire for you to open your heart so you can come back into your natural essence that is open, that radiates love. We as women, we are here to radiate love through our heart. That's why our breaths go out. We are here to radiate love into the world. And this can truly change the world if we come back into that radiance, into that magnetism, into our natural state of being as women. And this is a little backstory of my relationship. And I still remember my first naked shooting in Bali with Dean Raphael. I booked a naked shooting with him. He takes amazing, beautiful, sensual, artistic pictures. And I was terrified to take my bra off still. This was like 3 years ago or 2 years. I'm not the best with time. I think it was even 2 years ago only. And even though I already had a better relationship with my breasts, I was still like, oh my God, it was still imprinted in my body. Like, it really took a while to reprogram that belief about my nipples and my breasts. And it was so empowering, this shooting, to get out of my comfort zone and to do it anyway, because all of me just wanted to take my clothes on again and run away. But I faced that. I closed my eyes and I dropped into my body in front of the camera, and I allowed all of me to be seen in this raw, vulnerable, naked state in front of a man that was also, a beautiful soul. And just to be seen in that was so healing for me. And by now I'm really, really comfortable, and I see what happens in these naked shootings with women if we come together in sisterhood, and there's no space for judgment. There's no space for, oh my God, look at her breasts. It's just a pure state and space for us to be in our natural state of being. And if you've seen my pictures of Morea last year, where I did a shooting with 11 naked women on my home island in French Polynesia, the moment we took our bras off, and every single woman was terrified before. They were all like, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure if I'm like so shy, and this is like a huge edge, and oh my God. We had to censor every single picture, because the moment we took our bras off and our clothes off, everyone was so free, empowered, and liberated. We were literally wild women waving around with jungle leaves in the ocean, diving with rays and sharks, and jumping and lifting each other up. And the atmosphere, even the photographer was like, wow, I've never experienced so much magic and empowerment and sacredness in a shooting, because it truly, 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 the sacredness of this space and sacred sexuality is what brings you back into remembrance, because it just feels so natural. You remember like, oh wow, this is actually how we're supposed to be as women. We're not supposed to judge each other's bodies. We're here to celebrate each other and to accept each other. And yeah, that's why I'm so, so deeply passionate about it. So if you resonate with the story, and it doesn't even have to be a nipple, sometimes they're hanging a bit, sometimes, one's boob is bigger than the other one. You can really, maybe you don't even have breasts, because there's so many women that have cancer and they get, I don't know the English word, when they take your breasts away, or you have implants, or there's so many ways why we could think our breasts are less beautiful. But I always compare us as women with a flower. We are unique and beautiful in our own ways. There's not a single flower that looks exactly like the other flower, but we wouldn't judge a flower. Oh my God, this rose petal is bigger than this one. She's so ugly, she's less worthy. But for some reason, we as humans do that. And that's why we feel so at peace in nature, because nature doesn't judge. But we feel not always in peace around humans, because we can feel if someone's judging us. And especially the most critical judge is our inner voice, the way we talk to ourselves. I've hardly heard someone speak negatively about my breasts. One friend once said, oh, your nipples are bigger than just something. And my whole system was like, oh my God, I can never show them again. But she didn't even mean it in that way. And I just had this alarm system of like looking for something. But besides that, not a single partner ever said anything about that. When I talked about it with my ex-partner, he said, I didn't even notice. Like, they're so beautiful. And it's just us that make this story. And yeah, just if it's so deeply rooted in our system, it's hard to see the truth sometimes, that we are really, really, really beautiful just the way we are. Nature doesn't make mistakes. And I want you to remember that your beauty comes from the inside, and your body is a masterpiece just exactly the way it is. Your body wouldn't even look as beautiful if you had bigger or smaller breasts or whatever it is. I was a late bloomer. So until 13 or 14, I had zero breasts, like literally nothing. And then I started taking the pill, I think with 15, I'm not sure, 14. And they just started exploding. Within 6 months, I went from a 0 to cup C or D. Like they really, really grew big. And yeah, then I just started not liking the way they grew. I was hoping for big breasts, and then I had big breasts, and I was like, I want different breasts. And yeah, if you're one of those 70%, just know that you're not alone, and that you can really change the relationship with your breasts. So it can be really, really empowering if you do this work, and you can literally fall in love with them and bring sensations back to your breasts. Because the thing is, if you don't like your breasts like I did, if you reject your breasts because you want them to be bigger or smaller, or you don't want someone to see them in a certain way, I literally did not enjoy being touched on my nipples. If someone touched me, I would be like, ugh, like put his hand away. I was like, I hate that. And they're always like, what? You're the first woman that doesn't like to be touched on your nipples. And I hated it. I was even touching myself, and it was because I rejected them so much. And since I started doing this practice, I got my sensitivity back and the love back to my breasts and the relationship to my breasts. And I literally have nipple orgasms and heart orgasms, which I didn't even know what was possible before, because I was just so focused on how they look and how I feel about them. So yeah, with that being said, I am going to share with you how you can do your own breast massage at home. And then after this, I share 3 possibilities how you can be guided by me in this process if you desire to have more guidance, and if you just want to surrender and follow my voice and experience this magic in a safe space, then listen to the end. So like always, I shared about the Yoni the arm ring session last week on my podcast. If you haven't listened to it, make sure to go back. It's also a very powerful episode. The most important thing for you to change the relationship with your sexuality is to create a sacred and safe space. If you don't feel safe in your body, And in the space you're in, you will not be able to release any emotions, any tension. Then this will just be awkward and nobody has anything from that. So make sure to create the coziest, most comforting, divine temple at home, which means lock your door, set up some candles, some soft fabrics, work with incense. And the reason why we drop from our mind into our bodies through sensuality is because you need to be present in your body in order to feel. You cannot receive your loving touch if you're in your head. You cannot smell the scent of a rose and get mesmerized by it if you're in your head. So your senses is like a highway path into your body to bring you into the moment. And only if you're present in the moment, you can release stuck emotions. You can reprogram the story around your body, your sexuality, and everything that is related to that. So when you set up the space, you can play a sensual playlist. I have hundreds on my Spotify account that you can look up. I encourage you to work with a body skin-friendly oil. So I always say what you put into your mouth, you can put onto your body and in your yoni, because you don't want any toxins in your body. Your skin absorbs the oil to the bone. It doesn't matter if you do a self-massage or a breast massage, you don't want any artificial scents on your skin because it really gets into your body a lot. And I'm all about natural products, so you can use organic almond oil, coconut oil, jojoba oil. I love to work with organic essential oils that I mix with them. You can heat the oil. It's very beautiful to have heated oil. You can do this practice at night before you go to sleep or in the morning. You can do it on your own first, and then you can also invite your partner to do this practice for you. But the way I'm guiding it and the way I'm teaching it today is more about a self-practice. And this doesn't even have to be just around pleasure. This can also be a really healing experience and can reprogram the relationship with your breasts. So the way I start is by rubbing my hands together. So make sure to lay on your back, for example. Find a comfortable, cozy position to have everything ready so you don't need to move much. You can wear lingerie, you can wear whatever makes you feel the most sensual and beautiful in your body. And then you're gonna rub your hands together, create some heat, because your hands and your breasts are both the extension of your heart. And then you just hover your hands above your breasts, which means you connect energetically to your breasts. You take a few beautiful deep inhalations into your breasts, into your heart. You open your mouth. You sigh it out. You do this a few times before you physically connect to your breasts. So after 3 deep inhalations, you gently cup your breasts with your hands. To make sure you feel safe, you just connect them, let them know you're here, you are here with loving intentions, and you simply hold them for a moment. And you can also set an intention at this point. And then there's many ways how you can massage your breasts. I always love to shake them a little bit before I start. And then I put the oil on my hand. So I put the oil on my hand, and then I gently start to circulate, to massage my breasts in circular movements. And here comes the connection of the spiritual practice with the physical practice. So of course there's a lot of physical positive effects, like blood circulation. They can even grow bigger. I've had women that say their breasts grew bigger when they practiced it regularly. It releases a lot of oxytocin. There's a lot of physical, hormonal benefits of it. But why I'm so passionate about it is because you can work on the deeper layers. You can reprogram the relationship with your breasts. You can release stuck emotions. And through these circular movements, so you begin on the outside with your palms, and then as you inhale, you circulate your hands to the center and up. And as you exhale, you can even physically remove what you're releasing. So inhalation on the outside to the center, and on the exhalation over the center to the outside, you release, you circulate, and you release stagnant energy. You can imagine you're opening your heart, you're circulating the energy to release anything that's no longer serving you, any protection mechanism, any stuck emotion, any heartache that's stored in your breasts, you release it out. You can do this for a few minutes and then you change direction. And this time you invite everything you desire for your life into your heart. So this can be more gratitude, more joy, more abundance, more appreciation. You can say affirmations to your breasts, what you want to share with them. And you can even make this a sacred ritual where you apologize to your breasts. You can write a love letter after and apologize for all the moments you couldn't see the beauty, where you created a false story around your breasts, why they're not beautiful, and you just say sorry because you can see the truth now. And then you create a love letter, what you love about your breasts. Then you can bring both of your hands to your left breast and massage them upwards towards your nipple, and imagine releasing any blockages that keep you from receiving. Your left side is your feminine side, which is your receptive side. So by massaging in this way, you can remove the blockages that keep you from receiving anything in life. It can be love, can be gratitude, any barriers around your heart. And then you go to the right breast and do the same. And you imagine you block anything that keeps you from giving unconditionally. Because I see this so much that we are giving, but we are expecting something in return. And this can help you to practice unconditional giving, to give from your heart, to receive from your heart. We as women have so many difficulties receiving because we have these blockages and barriers around our heart. So really work with these techniques and imagine reprogramming your whole system that it is beautiful and safe to receive and to give. And you can imagine shedding those layers around your heart. And this won't happen with just one breast massage. This is a technique that you want to invite into your maybe weekly practice, maybe even daily practice. Sometimes I don't do the whole procedure. I love to do it like 20 minutes, half an hour, but to be honest, in our everyday lives, we don't always have the energy and the capacity and the time to do it. But we all have a minute in the morning before we get up. We can just cup our breasts, massage them, especially if there's something we want to release, if there's something we want to invite, if we feel like we have blockages receiving right now. If someone gives us a compliment, we immediately want to give something back, or we can't just fully take it in. And the same with giving. If we feel like, oh my God, I feel like I'm giving too much and nothing is appreciated, to drop in what are you actually giving from your heart, and what are you giving from people pleasing and from thinking you should, or from thinking you do this because you want something in return, even if it's just love or appreciation or a compliment or whatever it is. We don't even realize how much we are giving with conditions. And that's something to be reprogrammed, in my opinion, because it's not nice for the receiver to receive if there's a condition. If you don't give from your heart, don't give. Learn to drop into your body to feel what comes from your heart, and learn to set boundaries if it doesn't. If someone asks you to do something and you're at maximum capacity, share that openly and vulnerably, and they will understand. You don't need to overexhaust yourself all the time. This is the kind of women I want to see in this world, because I've been a people pleaser and over-explainer and over-giver and over-excuser and all the things, and it's been just exhausting. And it's really so rewarding and nourishing to be in your feminine essence, where you can fully receive without feeling guilty, and where you can share love from an unconditional space, and not from, I make breakfast, but I want something in return. I want your love, and if you don't show that to me, then I will build up resentment. So to sum this episode up, I really encourage you to try it at home. Create a cozy space, fall in love with your breasts, allow yourself to release any stagnancy, sometimes there's emotions coming up. Many women start crying during this practice. Yeah. And just notice how your sensitivity will rise, your orgasmicness will rise. And I'm going to read a few testimonials from women that have joined my breast massages online. So you can see and hear from all different kinds of women what this can do. And I will also add 2 audio testimonials from a woman that joined. So you can not only hear it from me, but from women that have actually done it. Because I know it's sometimes like, what do you mean? We're going to meet online or in person and we're going to massage our breasts. It's something I would have never done 5 years ago. But then I ended up in Nadine's moon temple where we did the yoni initiation and the breast massage. And it changed my life forever because I remembered. It's just the wisdom of truth landed in my body that this is natural. This is how we are supposed to be, without shame, without judgment. And it just reprogrammed my whole system. That's why these spaces of women coming together to experience that is just so, so powerful. So one of my clients, I'm not going to mention names because I want to keep the privacy, but I invite you to feel into these words to see if this is something you desire. Tanya, thank you so much for guiding this amazing breast massage. I never felt so connected to my body and sensuality, like ever. It felt so good to be guided this slowly, sensually, and gently in my own pace. I never took this much time for my own self-pleasure practice, but I will forever do that from now on. It was pure magic, so intense, tears were running during the end. I felt so safe and held by your guidance the whole time. Another client, thank you from the bottom of my heart for your magic, Tanya. My creativity, aliveness, and sexuality are finally back in flow after feeling blocked for a really long time. Your sessions have allowed me to rediscover my body and sensuality, and I walk through life more grounded and relaxed, often barefoot. I feel deeply connected to my feminine essence and empowered to lead my life from my heart. Another woman said, I learned what self-love really means, and that changed everything. So much in my life has resolved itself in such a short period of time. I was able to integrate so many tools you shared with us into my busy everyday life with a big company and a small child, and it changes how I feel in my body and everyday life. I'm able to drop in the pleasure of the little moments each day, which I wasn't able before. Your work is pure magic. I wish for every woman to experience it. Another woman said, I felt so safe to be guided by you in this group of amazing women. I never felt any sensation in my right nipple, and during the breast massage, I felt pleasure in this area of my body for the first time in my life. There was no pressure and no expectation. I never felt so good in my own body. I could feel an immense power bubbling up, that we are all perfect in our uniqueness. Another woman said, every second felt like a safe and warm embrace to open up and dive deep within myself without fear. I felt held so deeply within every single session that brought up so much wisdom and clarity. I implemented many tools and practices I never heard before into my everyday life that have strengthened the connection to my body and sensuality. I feel more alive, radiant, and so much more pleasure in my everyday life. Another woman said, this was such a mind-blowing experience. I never thought I would be able to share so openly from my heart, but I felt safe and seen the whole time. I learned that reconnecting to my feminine essence was deeply longing for, and that I can be strong and soft at the same time. I now feel like a radiant goddess, and it is so much easier to check in with myself and set healthy boundaries. Another woman said, I love the breast massage so much. My cup has been filled from the inside out, and I experienced my first nipple orgasm. Yay! I didn't even know this was possible. Thank you for guiding us to this magical moment and holding the space for us so safely. I had no idea how much pleasure I can feel in my own body, and it just keeps on getting more. I'm blown away about all the beauty of the sensual woman that we are. It was so sacred, sensual, and liberating to be in that space with all of you and to be guided by your voice. I felt so safe and held. I could completely open and surrender to my own loving touch and presence. I was able to release some painful emotions and memories that I had been suppressing for almost a decade. I feel so much more radiant, alive, and free. It's a miracle. The session was very healing for me. I had a lot of emotions coming up. I stored a lot in that area that was finally ready to be released. This work truly changed the way I feel in my body already, and I will continue to practice on my own. I'm ready to embody the goddess that I truly am from the inside out. I feel cracked open in my heart, my soul, and my yoni. This has kindled a fire in me for the first time in a long, long time. I connected back with my passion, lust, and love. I've been looking for that feeling forever. I didn't know where to find it. Thank you for holding the space, Tanya. It felt amazingly normal. And now I'm going to add 2 more audio testimonials.
My biggest thing I think that I'm taking away is about de-armoring the heart. I hadn't realized until we did that massage across our chest how much tension I actually carry on the almost like I closed myself in, and just the stroking and the sensuality of that and the gentleness. That's one thing I will definitely be doing again. I'm going to try and do that at least. Well, I probably can't promise that I'll do it every day, but I am going to try really hard to kind of not necessarily do the whole breast massage, but certainly really open up my heart and be really, really gentle and just embrace that sort of like letting go of that tension and that kindness around my heart that I don't think I've done before. My biggest mind-blowing experience, I have to say, was the same thing to do with when we were doing that massage, but was to do with our hands. That actually that you can feel you're touching your hands, but you can feel the touch as well. And that kind of blew my mind, because you could feel it from both. So I was being almost like aroused by touching, but being aroused by being touched all at the same time. And my mind was kind of like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I could do that. That was completely, for me, that was mind-blowing. I'd never thought about that before, because if I've ever touched myself before, I've always focused on where I've touched. I've never actually thought about the sensation in my hand ever. So that blew my mind completely.
So you hear, this practice is truly, truly life-changing. And it is for every single woman out there. And I desire this so deeply for you. So if you feel complete, you can just leave it here. If you feel the desire, if you're like, I want this, I want to dive all in, I want to know more, I want to be guided, I want to know everything you can teach me about this, I have a few possibilities for you that I'm sharing right now with you. So the first, this weekend, which is April 29th and 30th, Saturday and Sunday, I'm guiding a 2-day home retreat online via Zoom called Cracked Open. We will meet twice a day for 90 minutes. And the first day is all about cracking open. I will guide you through a healing journey into your subconscious mind, where we will create safety and harmony in your inner world. So you're able to open up and fully surrender in the Yoni de-armoring session. If you don't know what Yoni de-armoring is, make sure to listen to my previous podcast episode from last week, where I share everything you need to know. And the second day on Sunday is all about opening and receiving, which means I'm going to guide the sacred breast massage and a feminine embodiment practice that drops you deep into your body and reprograms how you feel about yourself in your body. If you can't join live, you will receive 3 months access to all recordings. And if you listen to this episode after April 2023, you can still purchase the recording. You also get 3 months access. So this is also possible to do in your own pace, to listen to the recordings, to dive into these practices in your own pace, alone at home. And this is the possibility to do this with me online in the comfort of your own home. And I will share these practices also in my upcoming Feminine Leadership Retreat, July 5th till 7th in Austria. This was supposed to be just for my mastermind clients, but I have a few spots left. So if you desire to experience these sacred sexuality tools in person, we will dive really deep into leading your life from your heart, from your soul. This is really for you if you desire to be part of creating a new way of living and relating. If you're done hiding your truth, if you're done, keeping your heart closed and falling back into old conditioning and projecting and victimizing, if you're here to live fully, to crack open to life and to love and to embody your highest timeline, the highest version of yourself, and letting go of those victimhood stories. This is a 3-day in-person retreat with my sister Sarah Warner. I will fly her in from the Netherlands and we will create a powerful portal together. We never know exactly what comes out, but I can promise you, you will leave this retreat as a different woman. So if your body's like, your intuition is like, oh my God, I don't know exactly what to expect, but I just know I have to be there, send me a message. We have a few spots left. And I'm also going to guide a sacred breast massage during the Mila Festival in Germany, end of July. So these are 2 possibilities to practice this in person, which can be even more powerful because you just feel the remembrance of your ancestors, where we used to be in temples, where we used to be in our sensuality and being worshipped for that. And at one point it just became too powerful and it was forgotten, but now it's time to remember. And once you remember, there's no turning back. You cannot be manipulated. You are in your power if you do these practices and really on a cellular level embody your feminine essence. And this is my mission, to connect you back to your feminine power and truth, so you can live your life in alignment with your soul and lead from your heart and not from your programming and trauma and conditioning. So this was it for today. If this episode resonated with you, I would love for you to share it with someone who has maybe suppressed sexual energy or not the best relationship to their body and sensuality, to someone who might need this wisdom. And it would mean the world to me if you leave a review on the Apple Podcast or if you click the like button at the Spotify. It helps spread the magic of this work that can truly change the world. And I would love if you support my mission. Let me know how it landed. I always love to connect. And I see you next week.